If you think Adam Smith was simply the guy who invented capitalism, think again. The real Adam Smith was far more revolutionary and far more misunderstood than the popular myth. Today, we repealing back 250 years of simplification to reveal the real ideas from the wealth of nations and the theory of moral sentiments that actually reshaped global economies, created the modern world, and still influence every paycheck, every investment, and every economic crisis we face today. So buckle up, because Adam Smith is about to surprise you. Welcome back to the channel, where we dive deep into economic history to understand the forces shaping our financial world. Adam Smith lived in the 18th century, but his ideas still govern 21st century markets, businesses, and policy. Politicians quote him, economists worship him, and critics blame him for everything from inequality to globalization. But here's the truth. Most people have no idea what Adam Smith actually said. Today he befriended David Hume, the philosopher of skepticism, James Watt, inventor of the steam engine, Adam Ferguson, military historian and proto-sociologist. Together, they debated the nature of society, human motivation, and how nations grow wealthy. Smith's goal: to understand the system of commercial society, its virtues, dangers, and future. Not to praise capitalism, not to defend greed, but to understand human economic behavior. The world Smith lived in when Smith wrote The Wealth of Nations in 1776, the world looked nothing like today. Economies were controlled by guilds, monarchs, charters, mercantilists, monopolies. Trade was dictated by the crown. Companies needed royal permission to exist. Most people never traveled beyond their village. Wealth came primarily from land, not commerce. Europe believed wealth was fixed, like slices of a pie. Nations fought to capture gold, silver, and trade routes. Colonies were economic prisoners. They could only buy from the mother country. Smith looked at this system and said, no society can surely be flourishing and happy, of which the far greater part of the members are poor and miserable. His mission was not to defend the elite, but to free ordinary workers and merchants from economic bondage. This context matters because the ideas that follow were not abstract academic theories. They were revolutionary against the establishment of his day. The invisible hand lets us to the most overused and most misunderstood phrase in economics: the invisible hand. You've probably heard this simplified version. People acting in self-interest magically create good outcomes. That's not what Smith meant. First, Smith rarely used the phrase. Across his entire writings, invisible hand appears only once in Wealth of Nations and once in Moral Sentiments. So what did he actually mean? Self-interest within moral boundaries. Smith believed humans are motivated by self-interest, yes, but also by empathy, fairness, reputation, and the desire to be admired. He wrote, man naturally desires not only to be loved, but to be lovely. Meaning, we want approval, and we want to deserve it. Smith's invisible hand idea suggests that, under certain conditions, the pursuit of one's own interest can unintentionally benefit others if the rules of society, competition, and morality keep that interest in check. This is not laissez-faire. This is not greed is good. This is self-interest plus competition plus moral norms plus legal structure equals economic progress. Without those guardrails, the invisible hand fails. This nuance is often left out of modern discussions, but it is the heart of Smith's thought: division of labor. The true revolution, instead of obsessing over the invisible hand, we should pay attention to Smith's true big idea: division of labor. Smith famously described a pin factory where 10 workers, dividing tasks among themselves, could produce 48,000 pins per day, while a single worker could barely produce 1 or 2. This wasn't a trivial observation, it was a prophecy of the Industrial Revolution. Smith realized that productivity, not gold or land, is what makes a nation wealthy, and productivity grows when workers specialize. Today, division of labor is on factory floors, in global supply chains, in software teams, and financial markets. Every time you use a smartphone, you experience Smith's idea. Thousands of specialists, engineers, miners, designers, marketers, each doing a small part of the whole. Smith saw that complex cooperation is the engine of economic progress, but he also saw a danger. Specialization can make workers as stupid and ignorant as it is possible for a human to become. In other words, Smith predicted both the rise of mass production and the alienation of modern labor. He saw both brilliance and brutality in capitalism's future. Smith on markets, monopolies, and corporations. In his popular image, Smith despised monopolies, especially government-backed ones, and the 18th century had plenty. The East India Company chartered trading monopolies, guild restrictions, colonial trade controls, Smith wrote, with venom about these entities. The government of an exclusive company of merchants is, perhaps, the worst of all governments for any country. He believed monopolies distort prices, harm consumers, and corrupt politics, a view still relevant today in debates about tech giants, pharmaceutical companies, and financial institutions. Smith also warned that businessmen rarely support real competition. Instead, he said, people of the same trade seldom meet together, but the conversation ends in a conspiracy against the public. That could be applied word for word to price-fixing cartels in philosophy. The part everyone forgets before empathy, virtue, and social harmony. This was not a side project. It was the foundation of everything he believed. Smith argued humans are not selfish by nature. Instead, we are deeply social creatures who care about fairness and the happiness of others. He believed markets function best when built on trust. Economic life depends on moral behavior. Society collapses when greed becomes celebrated. One of his most important insights. Justice is the main pillar that upholds the whole edifice of society. Meaning, without fair rules, without honest courts, without moral norms, without trust, markets become predatory, and nations decline. This is a champion of greed, but a philosopher of moral responsibility. Free markets vs. free people in modern politics. Smith is used to justify deregulation, tax cuts, small government, corporate freedom, but Smith's real argument was for free people, not unrestricted markets. He supported public education to counter the harmful effects of labor specialization, infrastructure investment, national defense, basic social support for the poor, regulation of banks, prohibition of predatory interest rates, usury laws. Smith understood that true freedom requires the state to protect workers, prevent exploitation, uphold justice, break monopolies, ensure equal opportunity, maintain public goods. He was not a libertarian. He was a realist. Globalization. Smith's enduring legacy. Smith predicted globalization long before the term existed. He argued that free exchange between nations increases total wealth because each nation specializes in what it does best. This idea evolved into comparative advantage, global supply chains, international trade agreements, but Smith also warned against imperialism and exploitative foreign policy. He saw that wealth gained by conquest or domination corrupts nations. If he saw today's world, multinational corporations, offshore labor, global logistics networks, he'd recognize the extension of his ideas, but also the dangers he warned of: inequality, environmental strain, weakened domestic industries. Smith would likely say, globalization benefits humanity only when rules ensure fairness and prevent exploitation. Smith and modern capitalism. Capitalism today is far removed from Smith's vision. Smith believed in competition, transparency, small independent businesses, limited corporate power, ethical norms, guiding behavior. What he would see instead: megacorporations with market dominance, financial engineering detached from real production, record inequality, political lobbying, overwhelming democracy, shareholder value trumping human welfare. Smith predicts will always try to deceive and oppress the public. So Smith would not defend all modern capitalism. He would critique its excesses while still believing in the power of markets when properly regulated and morally grounded. Why Adam Smith still matters. Every modern economic debate, from taxes to trade, from inequality to innovation, carries echoes of Adam Smith. Here's what. 1. He identified productivity as the source of national wealth. Not gold, not land, not conquest. 2. He explained how complex cooperation emerges in markets. The division of labor is still the backbone of economic growth. 3. He recognized the importance of moral behavior in economic life. Without trust, no market survives. 4. He warned about corporate power. Smith foresaw the very monopolies that dominate our world. 5. He insisted that markets need rules. Freedom requires structure. Competition requires fairness. Prosperity requires justice. These ideas bender of the wealthy, not a prophet of unfettered capitalism. He was powerful, people are social. Justice is essential, and economic progress must serve humanity. That world change. Learned something new about Adam Smith today? Hit that like, subscribe button. It helps more people discover the channel. Subscribe for more deep dives into the financial ideas and historical forces shaping our world. And in the comments, let me know, what do you think Adam Smith would say about today's economy? Until next time, reminding you that the past is never past, especially when it comes to money. Let me know what topic you prefer next.